I grew up playing soccer, and I was the tomboy climbing trees in the neighborhood, and played golf, but soccer was my passion growing up.
I played football throughout my high school career as well as grade school. I looked at several institutions prior to leaving high school.
I've always been an athlete. I worked out 5 days a week. I used to run pretty much 3 to 4 days a week. Prior to that, I would go to like maybe an hour and a half in the training in the gym.
The things that most young people strive to do is, have a career, have friends, be active, do things. I had no idea whether I'd do that, and I was scared to death.
In July 2005, when I was shot. After waking, after 2 days, when the doctor shared to me that I was paralyzed from the waist down.
I had a blood clot that caused my left leg to be amputated above the knee. We didn't know what life was going to be like. 2 weeks prior to that, I had run 10 miles, and again, I was in here working with my personal trainer, so we did not know what my life was going to be like.
I was sitting at work at the time I was my first job out of undergraduate school, sitting behind the desk with a severe headache. Phone rang. I'm in the process of talking on the phone, and my speech became extremely slurred. The person on the phone said something to me about it, had no idea what they were saying. Subsequently had to have neurosurgery to cauterize a blood vessel that had ruptured in my head, so I had cerebral hemorrhage.
In 2000, I was in an automobile accident. The doctor considered me barely alive at the time. When I entered the hospital, I was in intensive care. Actually, my mom was standing over me and a priest. They were ready to render me my last rites. I'm considered a C4, C5, so I'm paralyzed below the waist. I can't use my hands. I did have a surgery that allowed them to take tendons out of my shoulders and place in my hand so I can do the pinching motion.
The doctors and therapists weren't real, I won't say they were negative, but they didn't give me lots of hope to become a full functioning member of society again.
I'm, still a mom. I still had, children I had to, take care of, and I'm like, living a life like this just was not acceptable. For more or less for myself, I know I couldn't do that.
Fear is something that I face every day, and it actually is something that, because I face it so often throughout the day, I almost don't even feel it anymore. Tripping in front of people, falling down, cracks in sidewalks. Fear is around me every day. It surrounds me.
If you can imagine that someone is able-bodied one day and the next day they're in a horrific automobile accident and their life is turned upside down, it can have a tremendous effect on them mentally.
You tackle it take it on a day-to-day basis. If I go walking on the greenway, I'm always worried that there's going to be a board I don't see and I'm going to trip over, there's going to be a root. But that's life. Life is fearful. You just have to go forward.
Depression, anxiety, tension, they're all contributing to your health factor. And I like to think that if I have a healthy mind, that I'm going to have a healthy body.
I had to keep going forward. Looking back wasn't something I could do. So pressing forward and forcing these legs to keep functioning was my ultimate goal.
You just reach a point where you have to choose, and choose to let that fear overwhelm you or choose to overcome it. And I just committed to the decision that I was not going to let that stand in my way to live the life of a normal person. But had a very dedicated staff at CMC and a great team of physical therapists and occupational therapists at Mercy Rehab. And they believed in me, and I told them that I wanted to be active, and they said, well, of course you do. And so they helped lay the groundwork for me to see that, you know, the impossible was actually within reach.
I went back to Dr. Bachman and asked him about it was anything else I can try. And he said, well, I'll give you a medical referral over to the Y. And I'm thinking, like, the YMCA? That, you know, and he's like, yes, they got you know, he introduced me to Myra, and she'll put you with someone. And I'm thinking, like, actually, I got to walk from that parking lot into this building with braces on. That was just, it was mental. It was more mental than I thought of actually the physical part.
The Y had been so gracious about letting me have someone to work out with, and I've had lots of different people that were helping me with my workouts. And somewhere, probably about 6 or 7 years ago, Jenny joined the Y, and they paired me up with Jenny, and it's probably the best thing that ever happened to me, because Jenny's been gracious enough to give her time to come meet my physical therapist, to read about what happened to me and all the idiosyncrasies that come along with being a stroke victim.
Jill is my personal trainer, and I started going to her probably 2 or 3 years before my amputation. And as soon as I felt like I was, you know, strong enough physically, I got back in. You know, she stayed in touch with me throughout the hospital and after, and then I told her, I was like, I'm ready. And she said, all right, well, come on. I said, I have no idea what I'm going to be able to do. And she says, I don't either, but we'll just go at it one step at a time. And that's what we did. And today, and even from day one, we were doing things that neither one of us thought that I could do.
My trainer, Doug, has had a tremendous influence on my workout. I came in with a limited program, but he's allowed me to expand that program and expound on the things that I'm currently doing right now. I not only work the ergometer bike for about a half an hour, 45 minutes a day, but I also use the free motion machines. And I have 12 to 13 different exercises that I use. And those exercises are very important, not only in reducing stress, tension, and anxiety, but also making sure that I have a strong frame, my skeletal circulatory system, as well as my respiratory system.
I met Sharon, and Sharon just had this, we just had this spiritual connection, more or less. I was looking at her as a trainer, and she asked me what I wanted to do. And I told her, I said, I really want to get to a point I can walk with my legs.
I used to work out a lot, and then I just felt like I wasn't getting anywhere, didn't have someone to help me one-on-one. Instead of pushing myself forward, I just kind of did not realize how much I had relied on them to motivate me. So I kind of quit for a while, and the few years that I was away, I really went downhill. I did not realize how much progress and how much I needed the workout and the stretching. Jenny wouldn't let me feel sorry for myself. She wouldn't let me get down on myself. She's always on me about being too hard on myself, that just keep going, you're doing it, you're doing a great job, just keep pushing.
The YMCA has just, again, it's offered me another outlet and another resource to achieve my dreams. I'm actually training for the Paralympics for 2012, and without the Y and their workout facility and their great team of support and staff and their spin classes and personal trainers and their pool and their track, indoor and outdoor, I most likely wouldn't be able to do that.
No matter what you face, you may not do things the same way you used to do them. Don't ever give up, just keep going. If there's a will, there's a way.
God has actually allowed me to help others by being in a position where I am disabled, being an inspiration, being a motivation to other people. And I think that is what my calling is right now, to try to do the will of God, help other people, and try to improve my self-worth at the same time.
Yeah, I was a patient at Mercy Rehab and really enjoyed my experience there. I vowed to them that if I saw myself as a success, that if I actually felt like I could give back to people, I was going to come and do volunteer work and be a peer visitor at the hospital and go and visit recent amputees to show them that they can do anything that they want. It's all within their reach.
When I walk into the Y, I mean, it's like at home. I see so many familiar faces, and those who have watched me from day one, they'll walk up to me, and I don't even remember some of them. They're like, I watched what you come through, and you're amazing. And that's a good feeling, because now I quite understand that my overall purpose in this trial is to give back and help others. It's not so much just for me. If I feel like if I could just help one person, that has made such a big, amazing stride in my life.
2 years ago, I wouldn't have expected that I would have been able to take my amputation with such great stride and be able to live the life that I wanted. I would have thought that I probably would have sulked and stayed in bed and whined, poor me. But I've really been able to make a choice to continue to be better, to be a role model, to inspire. And if I can make somebody's day, or if I can make them feel better about themselves in that one instance, that's what God put me here for.